Today, recent vinyl pickups and reviews, including my take on new releases from Hollywood Vampires, Tesla, CJ Ramone, and tons more. All that and more coming up right after this.
Channel 33, RPM, yeah, 33, RPM, Channel 33, RPM, yeah, Vinyl Gear and more.
Hi, my name is Frank. Welcome back to Sundays on Channel 33 RPM, your channel for vinyl, for gear, and more. We're in the dog days of summer, dear 33ers. It's July. It's my favorite part of the month. I have been spending a lot of time outside listening to tapes, streaming music, but I'm trying to make a point of still coming down to the music room, at least once or twice a week and giving some records a spin. Some of those records I have been spinning, I will talk about today, plus a couple CDs.
Channel 33 RPM.
First up is the new release from the Hollywood Vampires called Rise. This is their second album, and it just came out in 2019, this summer. For those of you not familiar with the Hollywood Vampires, it's a supergroup of sorts featuring Alice Cooper, Aerosmith's Joe Perry on guitar, and actor Johnny Depp on guitar, believe it or not. This is their second album. Their first album was mostly covers with a few originals. This one is mostly originals with a handful of covers thrown in for good measure. There's the album artwork. If you can't tell, it's sort of on this, sort of got this foil finish there with this dude. Back, it's a 2 LP set. And there is the gatefold. So full disclosure, I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan, and I will pretty much buy any product he puts out, no questions asked. Which is why it kind of pains me to say this, but I don't think this album is that great. I mean, it's okay, but it just does not blow me away, which is really surprising because it checks off all the boxes. The songs are catchy, there's good guitar work. Alice Cooper's lyrics, as always, are brilliant. Maybe that's a strong word, but they're very good. Alice is one of my favorite lyricists. He has this knack of really inserting his sense of humor in a lot of the tracks, which I really like. So I'm kind of struggling here to figure out what I don't love about this record. I mean, there's a few things I don't like. The album cover, doesn't really do anything for me. The color, this dude. I think the fact that Johnny Depp is in the band kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. Just kind of seems like he's there maybe for the name recognition. I don't know. The fact that he takes the lead on at least one track, and that is cover David Bowie's Heroes, and that doesn't really sit well with me. As I said, I'm kind of struggling with this one. I've given it a couple listens. I've really tried to get into it, but it's not, it's like throwing noodles on the wall and seeing if any of these tunes are going to stick with me. And so far, nothing has. That says I am not giving up on it yet. I'm going to give it some more listens. And again, I'm a big Alice fan, so I'm still happy to have this in the collection. Next up, this was sent to me probably a month ago, and I opened it up in an episode of Friday Night Vinyl. And this is, I'm not sure if you can make it out, it's from actually a Channel 33 RPM viewer by the name of Rockio. And the album is called Futilities Last Request. It's a collection of New York inspired street poetry with some songs woven into there as well, and it's all kind of set to the sound of a bustling city. It is really, really good. I'm normally not one for spoken word albums, but Rocky does a fantastic job with this one. His words, when he speaks, it's got they have a musicality to them, if that makes any sense. He's got there's a rhythm and a flow to his words, which is absolutely fantastic. What else can I tell you about this one? It is selling for only $8.88, which is a steal of a deal. I'm going to leave links below this video. I'm not asking you to buy it, but at the very least, check it out and just kind of immerse yourself into this. One of the things I like to promote whenever I can is really rallying behind and supporting independent artists, because independent artists are out there doing it for the love of it. They're not necessarily doing it to make any cash. So please do check out Rockio's album called Futilities Last Request. And thank you again, Rocky, for saying this. Next up, we have the 8th studio album from Sacramento, California rockers, if you can see that, Tesla. Yes, CD, not the record. I still buy CDs all the time. Some of you are surprised when I say that. Why do I buy CDs? Well, sometimes it's price. Like, for example, the record for this one costs double the price of the CD, so it was kind of a no-brainer. As for this CD itself, it's called Shock. And it was kind of a shock when I heard this one. And again, full disclosure here, I had pre-ordered it through Amazon. And they started putting tracks out, and I listened to them. I was not into this album at all. So I actually canceled my pre-order. Then an odd thing happened. I started streaming this record, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And I really started getting into it. So you may be asking, what did I not like about this? This is not your typical Tesla. This album was produced by Def Leppard guitar player Phil Collen. Not only did he produce it, he has a co-writing credit on all the songs, and he sang background vocals, it sounds like, on all the songs. And as a result, this sounds more like later day Def Leppard than it does Tesla. So that's the hard time. That is the part I had a really hard time wrapping my head around. I mean, it didn't sound like Tesla. But again, multiple plays, and this really started to grow on me. The songs are catchy. Actually, there's many of the songs on here are really, really good. So I'm digging it. If I had anything to change on here, again, yeah, maybe I'd lay off on the Def Leppard style backing vocals a little bit. I'd lay off some of the experimental drum tones, and I would, maybe put a couple more rockers on here. There's a lot of mid-tempo and slow songs on here. But again, those are minor complaints. This album has grown on me, and if you've checked out this album and you really didn't care for it, I would suggest to give it another listen, because it's one of those records that really grows on you. It's a really good summer listen. Next up, we have the 4th studio album from former Ramones bass player CJ. CJ Ramone's release just came out, called The Holy Spell. So CJ was the bass player in the Ramones from 1989 until they disbanded in 1996, and he's been touring and keeping busy ever since. And I wasn't really familiar with his solo stuff until I heard YouTuber Cloudy Milder, Andy, talking about him. So I kind of dove into the collection, streamed it online. I've been buying up all his records. So I had this one pre-ordered, and I was happy to get it the day it came out. It's not my favorite CJ album. There's some filler on there, but it's a good listen. His stuff, it's right in the vein of the Ramones. If you like the Ramones kind of stuff, you're gonna like this. Short, punchy tunes, catchy choruses, fun but simplistic music. So he checks off all those boxes. What else can I tell you about this? Again, a good summer listen. It's on Fat Records, and they tend to sell their releases quite reasonably. This is not expensive. It's worth checking out. If you're into that sort of Ramones sound, check out this CJ album, or dive into some of his previous releases, because they are really, really good. This next one I was super, super excited to get, and this is the brand new 2019 reissue of the 1974 album from Elf, called Carolina Country Ball. And if you're not familiar with Elf, this was one of Ronnie James Dio's earlier bands. You can see him right there. Of course, Ronnie went on to play in Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. He was on 2 studio Black Sabbath albums, and of course, well, more than 2, a handful, but the ones I was thinking of were Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, of course. And he had a very long solo career. So all that said, this is nothing at all like later day Dio or the Black Sabbath stuff he participated in. Really, when I listen to it, it's kind of a cross between Queen and the Guess Who, believe it or not. Kind of with some, it suggests some boogie rock kind of thrown in there. This is not metal. It's not even hard rock. Stuff you might have heard even on AM radio at the time. All that said, it is very, very good and well worth checking out. At least check some of the stuff out online. A couple of the great tracks on here include the title track, Carolina Country Ball, LA 59, Ain't It All Amusing. I mean, it's just a really, really good release. And this is A very nice reissue, limited to 2,000 copies. Black vinyl, released by Music on Vinyl, which they typically do a fantastic job with their releases. So again, if you're a Dio fan, I'd recommend checking out Elf, Carolina Country Bar. All right, now we're gonna get a little bit heavy, and it's another CD. This is the new release, the latest release from Bay Area thrashers Death Angel. This album is called Humanicide, and I gotta tell you, these guys with their last couple releases have been absolutely knocking it out of the park. I am going to go as far as to say that this is a modern day thrash classic. Yes, is that good? And for those of you into that kind of music, into the thrash, this has been a really great period of time because, you know, Anthrax, between Anthrax and Megadeth and Metallica, these guys have been all putting out really vital, really great albums in recent years. And just add Death Angel to that mix. I mean, this is just balls to the wall thrash, great riffs, great vocals, great lyrics. I mean, again, this one just checks off all the boxes. So if you're a fan of any of that sort of stuff and you haven't heard the new Death Angel yet, highly recommend checking it out. And here's another one for you. This is something completely different. It is from jazz guitarist Gabor Szabo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and this album is called The Sorcerer. So Gabor was born in Hungary. He immigrated to the US. He plays guitar. This is a live album, and the style is really it's jazz guitar sort of mixed with I guess what they call Hungarian gypsy music. This was a blind buy for me, based solely on the title of the album, The Sorcerer, and the album artwork. It's on Impulse Records, but you could say that this was an impulse buy, but completely worth it. This was, I think, $5 at a local record store here in Winnipeg. I never heard of them, but it's a really good listen, and I'm going to seek out more stuff from Gabor because it's good stuff. All right, 33ers, that is my July vinyl update. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree with my takes on these albums? I'd love to hear your opinion. Otherwise, leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't already. Dear 33ers, I hope each and every one of you has a fantastic week. Until next time, keep on spinning.